I'm done the modeling now for Blender Challenge 12, and this is what I've got. And it's time now to do an ambient occlusion render, just to see what this stuff looks like. And so I brought in a camera and a few lights and just placed them just sort of arbitrarily here and there. And this is my scene. And so what I'm going to do is set up this ambient occlusion render. I put my camera and lights in a separate collection so I can just shut them off and they're not in the way. And I've got just the default material on here, and I like to call this AO material. Alright, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my screen this way. I'm going to change this one to the shader editor and to close that. So I've just got my principal BSDF and I've got this. Alright, and to do the ambient occlusion render, what I'm going to do is everything's got the same material. Come over here, go Shift A, input ambient occlusion, bring in an ambient occlusion node, pull it over a little bit, and Shift A, converter color ramp. I'm going to connect the ambient occlusion node down here like that. I'm going to take the color and put it into the base color. I'm going to slide this up a little bit and get a little bit darker ambient occlusion, and this will determine now the color of my materials. So if I come over here, click on there, turn on my camera and lights, alright, you can see if I change this color, I'll change the color of my model. So I'm just going to do a little, I don't know, something like that, and try that. Okay, now I should say that I'm going to do this in cycles. I just tend to like doing the ambient occlusion in cycles a little bit better. Turn on my GPU compute, switch my render to something like 150. I've got denoising on, and I haven't really done anything else. I've just, my background, just changed the color to black. And that is really all I think I need to do. Alright, I mean, you can play around with the roughness if you want. But let's just have a look through the camera. I'm going to press F12. And this is what my first render looks like. I'll move a couple lights around in a slightly different position now. The ambient occlusion render helped me to appreciate the shapes of my models, and also gives me an idea of whether things are sitting in the proper position, whether my wheels are on the ground or my buttons are on the proper surfaces. It also starts to give me ideas for lighting. And so I tend to do this almost always before I do any real materials or texturing. I'm thinking about doing all of the materials pretty simply right in Blender, maybe using the add-on Smudger Pro for a bit of dust and dirt. I'm not sure about that, instead of going into Substance Painter. I should also finally say that I've been told and determined that I've modeled this incorrectly. The slope here actually, this area should actually be straight, and then it should slope back, and I wasn't able to see that originally in my reference image, and then it was brought to my attention, and it's a little bit too late to change that, so I'm going to stick with this. So these are the models for my little scene, and I'll set this up. I'll turn this a little bit and get a good vantage point, and I'll do some basic texturing in Blender. It's okay, so we'll start looking at that in the next video.